Hello and welcome to this sleep hypnosis recording. My name is Jason Newland, and please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. This is called the Observatory of Quiet Hours. Please make sure that you are somewhere safe where you can allow your eyes to close and sleep naturally. This recording is only for a time when nothing else needs your attention. And once you know that everything important can wait until later, you can let these words become less important too. You do not have to remember them. You do not even have to follow every sentence. Some words may seem clear, others may drift beyond notice, and both can be useful in their own quiet way. There is nothing you need to make happen now. Sleep has never really been something that can be forced. It is more like the night arriving over a landscape. The fields do not pull the darkness towards them. The rooftops do not work at becoming dim. Evening simply changes what can be seen, one small degree at a time, until the whole world has entered a different kind of light. And perhaps you can let this time be like that. Not a task, not a test, just a gradual change in what matters. You may already be aware of the surface supporting you, and of how it continues to support you without needing any instruction. It knows nothing about yesterday and asks nothing about tomorrow. it simply holds the weight that is given to it. And the longer something is safely held, the less need there can be to keep holding it from the inside. Some part of you may begin to understand that before you consciously decide anything at all. There may be sounds nearby or further away. A sound may appear and disappear, and the quiet after it may seem a little more noticeable. Even a familiar sound can become part of the background, like a small light in a distant window that does not require a visit. You can know it is there and remain exactly where you are. And if another sound comes later, that too can mark how much less there is for you to do. Perhaps your eyes are already closed. Perhaps they will close when they are ready. They can remain as they are while the muscles around them begin to forget the little expressions of the day. The forehead does not need to explain itself. The jaw does not need to finish any conversation. The tongue can be still without having the last word. And all those tiny places that have been faithfully waiting for permission may discover the permission was never withheld. Sometimes the mind becomes quiet first, and the body notices. Sometimes the body settles first, and the mind follows later. and sometimes neither seems to lead, because a change is happening somewhere in between, beyond the need to name it. Whichever way your system chooses can be the right way. You can drift because you notice comfort, or notice comfort because you have already begun to drift. Now, I would like you to imagine, without trying too hard to see anything, that somewhere beyond the ordinary business of the day, there is an old observatory. It stands on a gentle hill where the roads become narrow and the houses become few. It is not abandoned. It is simply used only at night by people who understand that darkness is not an empty thing. Darkness is what allows certain distant lights to become visible. You do not have to picture the whole building. A sense of it is enough. Perhaps there is a rounded dome, pale beneath the night sky. Maybe a small amber lamp beside the door. Perhaps a path of flat stones leading through quiet grass. The details can choose themselves, and the ones you do not imagine can remain peacefully unknown. An unknown place can still feel familiar when it contains exactly what you need, can't it? And you may find yourself near the beginning of that path with no need to decide how you arrived. In dreams and in imagination, a journey can begin after the travelling is already complete. One moment here, another moment there, while the distance in between folds itself away. The hill is gentle. The air is comfortable. The door ahead is neither near nor far, because you have all the time. That no longer needs to be measured. Each flat stone in the path has gathered a little warmth from the day and is slowly giving it back to the night. You might notice the difference between one stone and another, or you might simply sense that the path knows the way. You do not need to count your steps. Counting belongs to clocks and ledgers. And this place keeps a different kind of time. Here, one unhurried moment can contain many minutes. And many minutes can pass like a single quiet thought. There are grasses at the side of the path, barely moving. There may be the faint scent of cool earth, wood, and stone. Above the observatory, the sky seems wider than it did before. It does not ask you to understand its distance. It allows the eyes of imagination to rest in something without edges. And when attention rests in something vast, the smaller concerns of the day can become small again, returned to their proper size. As you approach the building, you may notice a brass plate beside the door. The words on it are old and simple. The Observatory of Quiet Hours. Beneath them, in smaller letters, there is a message that seems meant especially for whoever arrives late and tired. It says, nothing needs to be solved before entering. And that is an interesting rule, because it means you do not have to prepare yourself to come inside. You do not need the correct mood. You do not need a perfectly empty mind. Whatever thoughts have travelled with you can enter too. A place designed for quiet would know what to do with noise. A place devoted to night. Would not be surprised by wakefulness. The door opens easily. Perhaps you pushed it, or perhaps someone inside noticed your arrival. The entrance hall is softly lit. And the first thing you become aware of is how still the building feels. Not lifeless, not frozen. It has the patient stillness of a library after closing, when all the books remain full of words, and yet none of them needs to speak. The floor beneath you is smooth stone. The walls are lined with dark wood. Somewhere within the building, a very slow mechanism turns with a low, almost inaudible hum. It may be rotating the great dome overhead. It may be moving the telescope towards a part of the sky that will be ready later. You do not need to know. It is comforting when something useful continues in the background without conscious supervision. There is a person waiting in the entrance hall. You cannot quite decide whether this person is old or young. Some faces belong more to a feeling than an age. The observatory keeper wears a comfortable coat and has the unhurried manner of someone who has never once argued with the night. The keeper does not ask why you have come. There are places where your arrival is already the answer. The keeper simply says, "Welcome." You may bring everything in, but you will not need to carry it through the whole building. And perhaps those words make sense immediately, or maybe their meaning can unfold later, while another part of you understands in advance. Near the wall is a long wooden counter with many small drawers. Each drawer has a blank label. No one has written on them because whatever is placed inside does not need to be described. The keeper gestures towards the first drawer and says, "This one can hold all the unfinished conversations." You may become aware of things you meant to say, things you wish someone else had said, explanations rehearsed, answers imagined. And sentences that continued long after the actual conversation ended. You do not need to examine any of them. There is no need to open the envelopes to know they can be put away. The drawer is deep enough. It slides closed without locking, which means nothing is lost. It is simply not required tonight. The next drawer is for decisions that do not belong to this hour. Large decisions, small decisions, decisions disguised as worries, and worries pretending to be urgent decisions. The keeper has seen them all before. A sleeping mind, the keeper says, can sometimes arrange a choice more wisely than a tired mind can chase it. So perhaps those decisions can rest there. You'll still be capable of choosing when the proper time comes. Putting something down is not abandoning it. A musician puts down an instrument and remains a musician. A gardener leaves the garden at night and remains the gardener. You can stop working on a problem and remain completely able to meet it later. Another drawer is for the things you cannot control. It is the largest drawer. Though from the outside it looks no different from the rest. Other people's opinions can go there. The past can go there. The timing of things, the weather of other minds, the questions that have no present answer, the outcomes that are still travelling towards you. The drawer accepts them all without becoming heavy. And perhaps a part of you wonders how a drawer could hold so much. Yet the mind holds whole landscapes in a dream without increasing the weight of the head. A memory can contain a year and appear in a second. Space behaves differently inside experience. So there is room here, more than enough room. And as each thing is placed beyond immediate reach, your own inner space may quietly increase. There is a draw for responsibilities that have been completed. This one matters because the mind can continue carrying a duty even after it is done. It may replay the effort, inspect the result, or search for some final permission to stop. The keeper says, completion is sometimes a sound too soft for the busy mind to hear. Let the night hear it for you. And you might notice somewhere within a faint sense of something being finished. Not everything. It does not have to be everything. One small part of the day can be complete. One effort can be enough. One hour can close its door, and then another. What is finished does not need to be carried as if it was still beginning. The last drawer has no stated purpose. The keeper explains that it is for anything else. A feeling without a name, a restless fragment of energy, an image that keeps returning. A concern that has not become words. Even the effort to fall asleep can be placed inside that drawer. Because sleep may come more easily when it is no longer being watched for. You can imagine setting that effort down now. You do not have to produce sleep. You do not have to check whether it is close. The night does not need supervision. The body has practiced this ancient change thousands of times through ease and difficulty, through different beds and different years. It knows more about sleep than the conscious mind could ever explain. The keeper closes the final drawer and rests one hand on the counter. Everything will remain available in the morning. Comes the reassurance. But it will not necessarily be arranged in the same way. Some things may seem lighter. Some may have joined with a new understanding. Some may no longer seem worth collecting. That seems fair. You're not required to preserve every worry in its original condition. The night is allowed to edit. It can soften an edge, loosen an old connection, move one memory further from the alarm that used to surround it. Learning can continue without effort, and the mind can update an old expectation when the present becomes safe enough to teach it something new. Now that your hands are empty in the imagination, you may become aware of how the rest of you can be held. The back can discover the shape beneath it. The shoulders may notice they are not shelves. The arms do not need to reach towards anything. The hands can remain open or closed, warm or cool. As though each finger has finished signing the day. Your legs have carried you through enough. Whether they travelled far or barely moved, they have no journey to complete now. The muscles can give up their map of the room. The feet do not need to know where the floor is. It is possible to be safe without being ready to stand. And the more completely you know that, the more completely some old readiness may fade. The keeper turns towards an inner doorway. Beyond it is a curved corridor leading gradually upward through the observatory. Lamps are set along the wall. Each one dimmer than the one before. The keeper explains, the lamps are not going out. Your eyes are learning to need less light. And that is how many changes happen. Not by removing something, but by needing it less. Not by forcing the mind to become blank, but by letting thoughts become less demanding. Not by defeating wakefulness, but by discovering that wakefulness no longer has a job. You begin along the corridor, or perhaps the corridor seems to move gently around you while you remain comfortably still. Imagination has that freedom. You can travel and rest at the same time. You can listen and stop listening. You can know where the story is going and be pleasantly surprised when you arrive somewhere else. The first lamp casts a circle of gold light on the wall. Within that circle, you can see a small framed picture of morning. A kettle, a window, a pale sky, something ordinary waiting in its proper place. You do not need to enter morning now. It has been safely placed on the other side of sleep. And knowing that morning exists can make it easier to leave it alone. The next lamp is a little dimmer. Beside it hangs a map of the sky drawn many years ago. Lines connect stars into shapes. A bird, a key, a bridge, a sleeping mind. The lines are not really present in the sky, of course. A human mind added them because minds are always discovering patterns. And if a mind can create a pattern, it can also change it. It can stop connecting this moment with an old difficulty. it can draw a gentler line from lying down to letting go. From listening to drifting. From darkness to safety. You do not have to redraw that map consciously. The part of you that learned to recognize a face, understand a word, or find your way home, did not need a lecture for every tiny adjustment. It learned through experience, repetition, relevance, and time. Tonight can become another experience of the bed meaning support, the darkness meaning privacy, and the closing of the eyes meaning that the world can continue without your management. At the third lamp, the corridor curves, and because it curves, you can no longer see the entrance hall. You know it is behind you, yet it has disappeared from view. This is a useful reminder that something can exist without occupying attention. The drawers are there. Tomorrow is there. Your name, your history, and all the practical facts of life remain there. You do not need to keep looking at them to keep them safe. The keeper's footsteps make almost no sound. Perhaps you are following, perhaps walking beside. Maybe being guided by a voice that seems to come from a little ahead and a little within. There is no correct speed, the keeper says. People arrive at the upper room quickly when they stop measuring how far they have come. So you can stop measuring. You may already be more settled than before. Or you may simply be less interested in deciding. Less interest can be a form of comfort. A thought that once demanded an answer can become a thought that passes without receiving one. And every unanswered thought can learn that it's still safe to pass. Another lamp, softer now. Beneath it is a narrow shelf with a row of clocks. None of them showing the same time. One of them has stopped just before midnight. One moves very slowly. One has no hands at all. Another seems to move only when you look away. The keeper smiles as though this is exactly how the clocks are meant to behave. Daytime uses time to organize action, the keeper says. Nighttime uses time to dissolve it. And you may know how a few minutes in a dream can contain a long journey, while an hour of sleep can seem to disappear between one awareness and the next. The mind does not always experience time as a row of equal pieces. It can spread one soothing moment wide enough to rest inside and fold a long stretch of night so neatly that morning arrives without having crossed the distance consciously. There is no need to wonder how much time has passed in this recording. There is no need to know which sentence you are hearing. The words can become like those clocks, some clear, some slow, some without hands. What matters can be absorbed, and what does not matter can fade before it reaches the place where meanings are kept. The corridor continues its easy curve. The walls feel warmer here. The light lower. The air is still. The keeper says nothing for a while, and that silence seems part of the conversation. You are allowed to have spaces inside the words. You are allowed to miss a phrase. You are allowed to drift so far from the sound of the voice that the next thing you notice is not knowing how long you were gone. And if you have not drifted yet, you can remain curious about the exact moment when you will cease to care. Because there is a point in every settling process when observation becomes participation. A person may watch rain on a window and then discover they have not been thinking about rain at all. Someone may listen to music and suddenly realize the music has been carrying them. You can listen for sleep until sleep is listening for you. At the final lamp, the keeper pauses beside a small arched door. The light there is blue-grey, like the last colour left in the sky after sunset. On the door is a symbol, a closed eye containing a tiny star. You've never seen it before, and yet it may seem like something remembered. The keeper opens the door, and you enter the central chamber of the observatory. The room is large and circular. Above you, the great dome curves into shadow. A wide opening reveals a strip of night sky. In the center stands the telescope, long and dark, angled towards somewhere beyond ordinary sight. Around the edge of the room are deep stairs, low tables, shelves of notebooks, and one broad couch placed exactly where a tired visitor would hope to find it. Perhaps in your imagination you move towards that couch. Perhaps it moves towards the shape of you. It is covered with a fabric that feels neither too warm nor too cool. When you settle there, it accepts your weight immediately. As though it's been waiting to learn your exact outline. And the support beneath your real body may become mixed with the support beneath the imagined one. Until it is unnecessary to decide which comfort belongs where. The keeper places a folded blanket nearby. You can use it or simply know that it is available. Sometimes comfort deepens merely because choice is present. You can be covered or uncovered. You can hear the next words or let them pass. You can follow the sky or allow the sky to follow you. Every option leads away from effort. The mechanism beneath the floor begins to turn a little more slowly. A soft vibration travels through the room. Too gentle to disturb anything. The dome rotates above you, moving the opening across the sky. One group of stars disappears from view, while another arrives. There is no loss in that. The sky remains whole, even when only a small part is visible. Your mind is like that in certain ways. A thought can leave awareness without leaving you incomplete. A memory can move beyond the opening. An identity can rest out of sight. You remain whole while knowing less, doing less, holding less. Wholeness does not require every part to speak at once. The keeper sits in a chair some distance away and opens an old notebook. The pages seem blank from where you are. Yet, perhaps they contain writing too faint for another light. This is the book of things the night can do all by itself, the keeper says. Most people never read it because reading it would keep them awake. That makes you smile inwards, perhaps. There are processes that work best without being inspected. A seed does not need to know the name of each change beneath the soil. Skin does not need to ask permission to mend a tiny mark. The mind can sort, compare, connect, discard, rehearse, and restore, while the conscious part goes elsewhere. You are allowed to receive the result without supervising the method. The keeper turns one blank page and says, "Tonight the observatory is studying the distance between one thought and the next." first, that may seem like nothing at all. Yet the distance between thoughts can contain more than expected. There may be a fraction of a second where no sentence is being formed. A small open space before a memory becomes a picture. A pause in which the mind has not yet decided what comes next. And when those spaces are noticed indirectly, they sometimes widen on their own. You do not have to push thoughts apart. That would only create more thought. You can let each one complete its small arc, like a faint meteor crossing one corner of a very large sky. The sky does not chase it. The sky does not need to remain it. It appears, changes, and is gone, while the darkness around it stays quiet and wide. Perhaps a thought about today crosses now. Let it travel. Perhaps a thought about tomorrow. It can travel too. Perhaps there's a thought about whether this is working. That may be the most amusing one of all, because it can pass through the same opening as every other thought, carrying its question with it, unanswered and unharmed. The telescope turns by a degree so small that you do not see the movement. You notice only that it is pointing somewhere new. Many useful inner changes are like that. You do not witness the adjustment. You simply discover later that you are responding differently. A familiar trigger is further away. A new choice appears soon. A night that once seemed difficult has become easier before you can say exactly when it changed. The keeper explains that the telescope does not bring the stars closer. It changes the amount of detail that can be received. And you may wonder whether rest does something similar. It does not have to remove the world. It changes what is admitted, what is softened, what remains at the edge, and what can wait outside the field of attention. You're beginning to learn the Observatory's way of seeing less and knowing enough. Somewhere below, one of the entrance hall drawers settles with a gentle wooden sound. Perhaps an old concern has shifted into a more comfortable position. Perhaps a decision has stopped pressing against the others. You do not need to go back and check. The sound can mean that the system is working. The couch beneath you seems to become a little wider. Or you become less concerned with your edges. The usual boundaries of shoulder and arm, hip and leg may be clear in one place and vague in another. A hand can feel present without requiring a precise location. The face can become a soft arrangement of warmth, coolness, weight, and absence. And when the body no longer has to report every detail, it can return to the privacy of sleep. The keeper's voice is quieter now. There was once a map maker who came here every night. The keeper begins, because he believed the sky was unfinished. The map maker was a careful person. He had drawn coastlines, roads, boundaries, and paths through forests. Every line had a purpose. Every blank space bothered him. So when he first looked through the observatory telescope and saw more stars than his chart could contain, he decided he would not sleep until the map was complete. Night after night, the map maker worked. He sharpened pencils, measured angles, and filled the paper with tiny marks. Yet, each time the telescope moved, more stars appeared. Some were too faint to be certain. Some seemed to change. Some could be seen only by not looking directly at them. The harder he stared, the less he trusted what he saw. One evening, the old keeper of that time watched him erase the same section for the 7th time. The keeper asked, "How will you know when the sky is complete?" The map maker said, "When nothing is missing." "And how will you know what is missing?" "I will compare the map with the sky." "All of the sky?" The map maker looked up at the dome and for the first time understood the size of the promise he had made to himself. The keeper gave him a fresh sheet of paper. It was dark blue and completely blank. "This," said the keeper, "is the most accurate map of night we possess." The map maker thought it was a joke. Then he noticed a tiny sentence written at the bottom of the page. "Enough is visible for now." He sat with those words for a long time. He had believed a good map must contain everything. But a map containing everything would be as large as the world and impossible to carry. The purpose of a map was not to hold the whole landscape. It was to let a traveller rest from being lost. So the map maker placed the blue page over his crowded chart. And for the first time in many nights, he stopped adding marks. The blankness did not accuse him. It covered the unfinished work without destroying it. And beneath that quiet blue page, the lines seemed to arrange themselves into simpler shapes. He slept in the observatory that night. In the morning, he did not finish the map. He did something wiser. He drew only stars that helped people find their way home. Perhaps you can understand that story in one way, while another part understands it differently. The mind may have been trying to map too much. Every possibility, every reason, every future path. It may have confused completeness with safety. Yet, you do not need a map of the entire night to sleep through it. Enough is visible for now. And you can place an imagined blue page over the unfinished map within you. Not to erase them, not to deny what matters, just to give every line permission to stop where it is. Beneath that page, the unconscious mind can simplify what conscious effort has made crowded. It can keep the few stars that lead home and let the rest belong to the sky. Enough is visible for now. The phrase may repeat once somewhere inside, or it may dissolve as soon as it is heard. Enough is visible for now. There is no need to search the dark for proof that it is dark. No need to search for sleep once the night has already begun entering you. The opening in the dome moves across a region of sky where there are fewer bright lights. At first it may almost appear empty, Then, as the eyes of imagination become accustomed to the darkness, faint points begin to emerge. This is not because new stars have arrived. They were available when the need for brightness decreased. Rest can reveal quiet resources in much the same way. Patience that could not be felt during urgency, perspective that was hidden by closeness, a steadiness too subtle to compete with noise. These qualities do not have to be manufactured tonight. They may become noticeable only after the louder signals fade. And perhaps there is a calm part of you that has been present through every restless night, never insisting on recognition. A part that knows the difference between a thought and a threat. A part that can remain while sensations change. A part that remembers how to let consciousness dim in safe stages, exactly as it has done before. You do not need to find that part. It can find the rest of you. The keeper closes the notebook. The sound is soft and final. There are no more lessons tonight, comes the voice. Only observations that can continue after the observer has gone to sleep. So perhaps the words can now become observations without an observer. A suggestion may settle somewhere without being examined. A useful meaning may remain after the sentence that carried it is forgotten. And you may forget to listen in the same natural way that you forget the exact moment a room became dark. The mechanism under this observatory slows again. Each interval between its movements seems longer. A quiet turn, a long stillness, another quiet turn. The spaces are not empty, they are holding you. Your thoughts may begin to resemble stars seen through thin cloud, still present, perhaps, but softened at the edges. One appears and is covered. Another glows faintly, then becomes uncertain. You do not have to clear the sky. The cloud knows how to move, and the night knows how to become deep, even when a few lights remain. The muscles around the eyes can rest from looking, even within imagination. The small movements behind the eyelids can slow or wander as they wish. The jaw belongs to gravity. The neck can be supported in ways you do not need to calculate. The shoulders can lower by the smallest unmeasured amount, or simply feel as though the space above them has grown. Your arms may feel heavier, lighter, warmer, further away, or perfectly ordinary. Any of those can become a sign that you no longer need signs. Your hands can forget what they held today. The fingers can uncurl from invisible objects, invisible tasks, invisible attempts to keep control of what was never meant to be held all night. Across the chest and the center of your body, there can be room without any need to focus there. The body carries on in its own private rhythm, and you can leave it to its knowledge. Around the stomach, around the back, through the hips and legs, areas can settle in no particular order. The body does not need to perform relaxation evenly. One comfortable place can teach another without words. Perhaps the left side settles before the right, or the right before the left. Perhaps the upper body feels distant, while the lower body becomes pleasantly heavy. Perhaps you cannot tell. Not knowing is especially useful now. Not knowing where one sensation ends, not knowing which word began this sentence. Not knowing whether a minute has passed quickly or slowly. The keeper rises and walks towards the telescope. There is a large brass wheel beside it. The keeper turns the wheel and the stars in the eyepiece become blurred. Another small turn and they become soft circles of light. Another, and they merge into a gentle glow. People think focus always means seeing more clearly, the keeper says. But sometimes the right focus is the one that allows details to disappear. And now you can allow the day to move gently out of focus. Faces lose their sharpness. Words can lose their order. Places can become color without location. Anything that tries to return to clarity can be softened by another small turn of that inner wheel. Not pushed away, simply placed at a distance where it cannot require action. Even the idea of yourself can move out of focus for a while. You do not need to remember your age, your role, what others expect, or what you expect from yourself. Sleep does not require a biography. It welcomes a person beneath the name, the living system beneath the story, the quiet awareness beneath the effort to be someone. There is a relief in becoming temporarily undefined, not lost. Unmeasured, like the dark blue map that contains no demand to be complete. The night can hold your identity safely while you rest from carrying it. The keeper makes one final adjustment to the telescope. Then covers the eyepiece with a soft cap. The instrument has finished its work. It remains valuable while unused. It remains capable while still. And perhaps your conscious mind can recognize itself in that image. Capable, intelligent, experienced, and finished for tonight. There is no loss of ability in rest. There is renewal. Connections that were used heavily can quieten. Other connections can strengthen in the background. Experiences can be filed according to what they mean now, not only what they meant when they happened. The brain and body can practice safety while nothing is being asked of them. You may not notice that learning tonight. You may notice only that the words are further away. That is enough. A message does not have to remain in conscious memory to influence what becomes easier later. The path from wakefulness to sleep can become more familiar each time it is travelled without struggle. Imagine, if you like, that within the observatory there are invisible paths worn into the floor by generations of sleepy visitors. At first, a person might cross the room with uncertainty. Later, the feet know the curve. Eventually, the journey happens in darkness. Your own way into sleep can become like that. Less negotiated, more recognized. An old route, newly remembered. The route may begin with the bed supporting you, then sounds becoming distant, then thoughts entering drawers, then the corridors curving away from the day, then the blue map, then the telescope moving out of focus. Or the order may change. The unconscious mind is free to keep only what works and discard the sequence entirely. Tonight it can discover the shortest path. Maybe the shortest path is not a path at all. Maybe it is the sudden realization that you have already arrived. That the observatory is not somewhere you travel to, but a form the sleeping mind gave to safety. The keeper may be part of your own deeper knowing. The drawers may be the mind's natural ability to postpone. The dome may be the boundary that allows a small protected world beneath a very large sky. And the couch in the observatory may be this bed, this support, this moment. If that is so, there is nowhere else to go. You can stop travelling now. The keeper dims the remaining lamp. It does not go completely dark at once. The amber becomes copper. The copper becomes a small red thread. And the thread becomes something you remember rather than see. The stars above continue without needing an audience. There is a kind of darkness that feels like absence, and another kind that feels like shelter. This is the sheltering kind. It covers without trapping. It hides what does not need to be seen. It gives privacy to all the inner changes that prefer not to be watched. In that privacy, some emotion may complete a movement that was interrupted earlier. It does not have to become intense. It may simply change temperature, change shape, move further away, or become a dream that knows how to finish what waking thought could not. Only what can be processed safely needs to move. Everything else can remain protected and untouched until there is enough support, enough time, or no need to approach it at all. Your deeper mind can respect limits. It can open no door that should remain closed. It can work at the pace of safety, which is often slower than force and faster than fear expects. Tonight is not about digging into anything. It is about allowing the whole system to learn that rest is permitted, even when life is unfinished. You can sleep with unanswered questions. You can sleep while healing remains incomplete. You can sleep without earning it. You can sleep before everything is tidy. You can sleep because sleep is not a reward for perfect living. It is one of the ways that imperfect life is carried forward. Perhaps those words settle somewhere useful. Perhaps they are already forgotten. Either response can lead towards the same quiet space. The great dome makes one last slow turn. The opening above moves away from the brightest stars and towards a depth of sky that seems almost black. Yet the keeper knows that this region contains more distant galaxies than the eye can see. What appears empty can contain immeasurable activity at a scale too quiet and far away for conscious detection. And while your conscious awareness sees less, deeper processes can do more. Memories can be consolidated. Emotional signals can be recalibrated. The nervous system can spend time in a pattern of enough safety. Tomorrow's mind can be prepared by tonight's unobserved work. And no part of that requires your help. No part of that requires you to stay awake. And the less you help, the more thoroughly the night may help you. And the keeper returns to the chair, though perhaps no longer sees the movement. The voice seems to come from further away now, as if across the circular room or through the walls, or from the page of a book being read in another dream. When visitors are ready to sleep, the keeper says, we do not tell them to close the observatory. We let them discover it can remain open without them. So the observatory can remain open. The telescope can wait. The dome can turn. The drawers can hold what has been placed within them. The keeper can keep watch. You are not the last person responsible for the night. You can leave awareness in good hands. Maybe you descend into sleep as the day descended into darkness, so gradually that no border can be found. Maybe you enter it like stepping through an unseen doorway, one side listening and the other side dreaming. Maybe sleep grows around you like the sky growing visible when the lights of the town become dim. Any way is the right way, and you do not have to be ready before it happens. Readiness may be something noticed afterwards. A person says, I must have fallen asleep, because the event itself left no witness. And you can allow that pleasant absence of witnessing. You can be the one who does not notice the moment because there is no longer a need to notice anything. The next words may mingle with thoughts that have no obvious beginning. Images may form that have nothing to do with the observatory. A corridor may become a shoreline. A telescope may become a tree. The keeper may have the voice of someone kind you once knew, or no voice at all. Dreams are free to borrow what is useful and change everything else. If a dream comes, it can carry you safely. If no dream is remembered, the darkness can carry you. If thoughts continue for a while, they can grow strange and disconnected, which is often the mind's way of loosening its grip on waking order. One thought may begin and never finish. Another may finish without having begun. A word can turn into a picture. A picture can become a feeling of distance. Distance can become softness. And softness can become sleep. There's no need to listen to a list of instructions. These are only possibilities passing quietly through. You can choose none of them or all of them and still allow the right one to choose you. Maybe you're asleep now. Maybe sleep is close enough to hear these words for you. Maybe the difference has already become meaningless. No need to decide, no need to know, no need. The keeper's lamp becomes a point, and the point becomes a memory, and the memory becomes darkness. The building rests on the hill rests beneath the sky rests in a space without edges, and all of it can rest inside a mind that no longer has to contain anything deliberately. And let the next thought be unfinished. Let the next image carry you away. Let the next stretch of silence become longer than expected. And if you hear more words, you can only remember how unnecessary they are. Safe enough for this moment, held enough for this night, finished enough for sleep. Enough is visible for now. Everything else can wait beyond the dark blue page. The observatory remains open. The keeper remains near. The night continues, and you can drift beyond the last sentence, beyond the last image, beyond the need to hear an ending, into quiet, natural, unobserved sleep. Sleeping now. Resting now. No more to do, no more to follow. Only night, only quiet, only sleep.